I've realized that in order to make the container work for Nettle's calf and Nettle, because we're going to have to leave Nettle up there and bring her down without her calf to be milked, I'm going to take the gate off the pen in the parlor and mount it up. I'm going to take the gate out of here, out of the orchard that I set up the other to catch calves, borrow it and put it up there at the container, and then we'll be able to close the calf and or Nettle in and also keep Tethys and Ganymede out. Now, okay, good. I was worried that this was going to be frozen into the ground, but it is not. So, got up to 32 today. That's 20 degrees. 20 degrees warmer than it was yesterday. And it is so odd how that little bit means I'm out here without a jacket or coat. It is a little chilly right now as the sun's starting to go down, but I'm gonna haul this up there. I bought some bolts, and I've got to find the pintles for this to be able to mount it onto the side of the trailer. And then I think we should be good. Well, I'm down here checking on Nettle. Cows are lazily sleeping. I don't see any birthing activity from Nettle. It would be 4 to 5 days early, but it's happened. So that's why we put the moo call on in the final week. This is the second false alarm. Happened just as we were getting up, but never a bad thing. I do come on and check on the cows first thing anyway while coffee's brewing. So I will refresh their feed, and today would be a good day for Nettle to give birth, but it won't happen. I don't think she's quite ready. It's warmer today. I do still have to get the pen set up. They ate all the feed I gave them last night at 11, so here we go. Feeding cows. I think it's the case with us anyway. The first cow gets the most attention, and the last cow to give birth of the year gets the least attention because they're out on pasture, typically. But yeah, it's just because the temperatures are so brutal. It's 12 degrees out. So we're drying cows off, and rather than doing the regular treating of every quarter with antibiotic, we're using a selective cow therapy and only treating quarters that have a high occurrence in the past of mastitis, and then we're using a teat sealant. Now, we had to do 3 cows this way, and only 1 cow needed the antibiotic, so this helps cut our usage, and this teat sealant works great to prevent any bacteria from forming in the teats while the cows are dried off. So today we're drying off 3 cows, and so we do that so that they have a 45-day rest period to build up their reserves and have a nice healthy calf. It's built in. To that end, we do a different procedure. And now, when I first started drying off cows, it was just dry them off and let them be, and then not treat them in any way, and let them go through their rest period and then freshen, which is give birth and then come back into milk. And we were having a lot of instances of mastitis doing it that way. So then we switched to treating every cow at dry off with an antibiotic. Standard dairy practice. That we weren't happy with. I mean, we're not organic, but we do try to adhere to as many organic principles as possible, except I draw the line where it comes to cow health. We want healthy, well nutrition, non-sick cows. And so if we need to use an antibiotic, we're going to use an antibiotic. But I don't like just blanket using antibiotics. It's wrong. So we have switched from just treating every dry cow, whether they have mastitis or not, with a dry cow tube, which is an antibiotic, to now, then we went to targeting, we do a milk test, see if they have mastitis, and only then treat the quarter with mastitis or hint of mastitis, if that's the thing. This year, though, we're trying something completely different. We're using a teat sealant rather than any kind of antibiotic, unless there are 3 cows that we're drying off. 2 of them need an antibiotic in 1 quarter. They have a high somatic cell count. We don't know why. They're not showing signs of mastitis. We just rather that not be an issue. So we're going to treat that quarter. But the other quarters, all 4 quarters actually, we're going to use a teat sealant, which hardens up and blocks the end of the teat from getting any kind of manure impacted or any kind of bacteria up inside. So we're going to give that a go. That achieves us reducing our antibiotic usage, reducing our cost, hopefully ending up with a healthier cow giving birth. So that's something we've been doing in the parlor as we dry them off. We'll reduce their grain ration. Everybody's going to go on hay because we can't separate out the dry cows and the cows in milk in this barn. So they're all going to go on hay for a couple days. We're going to give extra grain and some alfalfa to the cows that are still in milk to make up for the nutrition deficit. But for the cows that we're drying off, withholding their grain and giving them a lower quality feed that's basically just roughage for a couple days will reduce the pressure on their udders as we're not milking them. And then eventually their system will tell their udders to stop producing milk. Pour everything into the baby. So, and meanwhile, we're waiting for Nettle to give birth sometime this week. This morning, we got 2 alerts and false alarms. Anyway, it's a beautiful day. It wouldn't be a bad day for Nettle to give birth today, but she's not due for another 4 days, I don't think. Shipping container mods. Got the ICB tote calf shelter stuck in here in the corner. It gives us the option if we need to put a heat lamp, we can set it from here down in there. So I'm not a fan of heat lamps. They're just a massive fire danger. And inevitably, like here, I could use the cube, a battery cube, to power it. And it'd be fairly safe, but otherwise it'd be extension cords coming from somewhere. So yeah, I'm not really a fan of heat lamps. Typically, it shouldn't be necessary. Calf jacket and just the body heat retained in this. Unfortunately, fortunately, the first calf being born this time is Angus, Angus cross, we think, pretty sure. So it'll be a little hardier than a Jersey calf born in this temperature, because Jerseys especially can't really regulate their body temperature for several weeks, which is why we put the calf coats on. And so we've got calf coats, selection of calf coats ready. So calf coat and the shelter here and a cow and the calves should be able to keep this, warm enough for the calf to be fine. We'll monitor it, if necessary, heat lamp, which is why I have switched to using these totes for newborns. Seem to have worked well the last 2 years, or did I only use it last year? I don't remember. Anyway, we've got 2 of them. As the year progresses, it's not as necessary because it's warmer out, and then they just become an impediment. Unfortunately, it was so cold out, I wasn't able to get that one pristine clean like I wanted. But it's been outside for the whole summer. I'm sure anything that was, icky in there has been cooked off in the sun. My next mod was I cleaned the floor as best I could, and I put down 2 bales of shavings. Bought the shavings because they're clean and they're dust-free for the most part. Unlike the stuff we've been getting from the tool factory, which is very dusty. And also a lot finer. It's great down in the cow pen, but here I want this to be, fluffy and absorbent, and this is, perfect for keeping this clean for a while and absorbing any moisture. I've also hung this gate. So I just added a couple of pintles that bolt on, and so I could just drill a couple holes real quick and got myself a gate, which also means I could divide out the yard and I can get a Tethys and Ganymede on that side of things. So that'll keep them out of here. They're plenty fine to be outside for the next week. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure how the pigs are going to react. They've been very inquisitive. They busted the gate again. They're pushing on that like crazy. I don't know what's going to happen. We got a calf in here. I need to get a date set for them. I need them out of here. Although I've got to wait now. That gate is frozen in. I tried cleaning that barrier and garbage out. Crap. It's pretty well set. So I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to open that gate and get just a few out of there, because 3 aren't really ready to go. 3 are and 3 aren't. So that's going to be an issue. Now, sometimes you just got to treat yourself to a new toy. And what does a farmer in winter treat himself to? A new boot dryer. Yep, we bought ourselves a new boot dryer because we were tired of cold, wet feet. That one allows us to dry 2 pairs of boots at once, plus gloves and hats, and you don't have to pick up the boots and flip them upside down. So like our boots are always covered in shit, and even when we come in here, we wash them off, and even though we wash them off when we come inside and try to keep them as clean as possible before we enter the mudroom, it's still gross to have to pick them up and touch them when you don't want to, and they're cold and slimy. So now we just drop those tubes in. This is supposed to dry it faster, better, warmer. We'll find out, but it's looking good so far. I'm up here in the barn stealing a few minutes to work on the heating project. This is the manifold in loosest terms for the radiant floor system in the creamery. I'm plumbing it with a shorter pipe. That had been a 1-foot nipple, and I replaced it with a 2-inch nipple. Try and lift it up off the floor more than it was before. I'm also going to redo how this is configured. This is the cold return out of the slab. And due to where I'm positioning it, and now that I've got a piece of plywood on that wall, I want it to come up from below right here. So I'm going to change this T here and this elbow and swap them around. So the T is where the elbow is, and it changes how that's configured. I've also got to take off the 2 cut sides on that close nipple array so I can plumb it into the pecs that I brought up through the floor. So I'm just messing around with that. Here I'm waiting for a customer to show up and pick up some butter, I think is what they're coming for, maybe some meat. So I'm just gonna plug away and just do some little bits. This is a T that's required to lower the temperature of the water. It comes up at about 190 degrees and circulates through the 1-inch pecs, and then these 2 close nipples here draw it off. This one with the big valve is the outgoing. It mixes with the cool return water to lower the temperature to about 120 going into the slab, and then I monitor and run the pump based on the outflow temperature from the slab as it circulates. So it found doing it that way regulated the temperature in the room a little better and kept the floor at a more consistent heat. Because I didn't put in the right control piece. I didn't put in the slab sensors. I don't have the right controller. And because the creamery not only has this nice big bank of windows right there for solar gain, anytime the sun is shining, that room starts to heat up. But also, I just saw this can of foam has exploded. Oh dear. What happened there? So a regular thermometer, thermostat, doesn't work in there because the process of making cheese creates a lot of hot steam that would artificially turn off the thermostat, and the floor would be off, and also the solar gain turns it off. And I couldn't quite, at the time I didn't understand quite the correct controller to get. and the fact that it would need in the slab sensors to modulate the pump to keep the water circulating through the slab so the slab stays an even temperature, so that at night, when there is no process happening, when there is no solar gain, that the room is the right temperature. We were having a lot of problems with that. And so I realized if I set the slab temperature a little lower than normal and monitor the outflow slab temperature and run the pump based on that, I could keep the creamery heated better. But this is part of that. So it's a simple, crude system. I'm just going to go with this because eventually the barn will be remodeled. That room will be fully insulated and done up right. There'll be a radiator in there that'll have its own pump. And so then maybe this all switches over to a manifold. And I get a different, instead of using a mixing valve, I'll use a mixing injection pump to inject cold water and run based on the desired outflow temperature. So that's something for another time. This is just as soon as I can get the system going. We don't have the weather. It's going to be even more brutal this coming weekend than it has been. So there's just no way of working down there or trying to get the system filled and up and running. I'm assuming it's going to take me 3 days, and that's fiddling around. And I'd still like to pressure test the system. I still have a couple things to do down there. But at the temperatures it's been, I actually don't know the temperature that the shipping container is. It's probably ambient temperature outside on any given day. It probably holds it a little colder, probably in the teens in there right now. I do have the torpedo blast salamander, but I don't want to run that until I'm sure that I'm going to work down there for enough time. And right now I only have about an hour's worth of work total, and it would take an hour to bring that up to a comfortable enough temperature to work. So I'm going to wait till I think I have to wait till, at this point. I mean, we're in for the penny, we're in for the pound with the heat in the building electrically right now. I think we're just going to have to wait. Unfortunately, that really sucks. I'm not a fan of that. But hopefully after this week, we might see a break in temps. As soon as the days are in the 40s or even the 30s, it's 27 today. It's lovely outside and a lot of solar gain. So if the days are in, at freezing point or slightly above, and the nights are not in the teens, then I can consider doing that. And as soon as the nights are around the freezing point and the days are warmer, then it's a no-brainer. Then I can deal with that because any heat that I need to keep overnight won't be onerous, because that building does keep the heat quite well. And so the salamander would fire, maybe a couple minutes every hour to keep the place above freezing. That would be acceptable, but right now it'd run continually. So I'm just out feeding the cows. It's actually pretty light out right now. It's about 5:30. I took the 360-degree camera off the big barn because for whatever reason, the angle of the sun in the winter and where I had the solar panel to run it, it just wasn't getting enough juice to stay charged more than a short time for one day. You gotta get out and climb a ladder to reset it each time. And it's something we need for calving. It's the whole point of it was to double check cows giving birth and calves. So I moved it to the shipping container. And I'm pretty sure it's active right now. We're gonna check. I just reset it, got it set up. It took all day in the sun out here to charge, which is why I'm only testing it right now. It wasn't working before. So I'm gonna give it a shot and we'll see what it looks like. Here we have a pen of naughty heifers. Took our third attempt to catch them. We got them in there last night, this morning, whenever it was. Now I gotta figure out what to do with them. Okay, we have Nettle and her baby.
What do you think, there, little moon?
So we got Nettle and Bridget, and a camera that works. We had the moo call on Nettle, and we went to bed after checking on everybody and Nettle at 11, and the moo call got us up at midnight, said, all right, there's been a lot of activity for an hour. So we decided to check on her then at midnight, having already figured she was probably going to give birth sometime over the morning. So we moved her up here from the barn at midnight, went back to bed, sent an alarm. Well, the moo cow got us up an hour later and said, yeah, a lot of activity. So we got ready to come out, just figuring, yep, Allison was looking on the camera, definitely looked like a cow in labor. About 1:15, we head out of the farmhouse door to find all 5 of the big heifers in the dooryard. So forget Nettle and her birth. We rounded them up. Took a while. First they tried to go out front, and we had to head them off. Get them back here. I having a wake me up out of a REM sleep, difficulty concentrating, and a little bit of asthma took over, and it was 6 degrees last night. It was brutal. We get the calves rounded up. I'm getting water and electrolytes for Nettle. Allison's coming in here, dry off the baby. The heifers weren't in the field for 10 minutes, and they were already out again in the dooryard. Round them up again, double check the fences, get them back in. This time, they disappeared. We got them for a couple hours. We were dealing with the calf, getting the calf dried off, getting Nettle brought, electrolyte water and something to drink, and dipping the calf's umbilical cord and looking after the calf. And then trying to get thawing colostrum to get the calf to drink something, because by then it had been pushing time, because took hours to deal with the heifers that were out. Just about the time I was going to head in and make some cocoa at 4:30 in the morning, I realized the heifers were out again. So we break off what we're doing. We go. Fortunately, the previous time they'd been out, I'd set up the corral system a little bit, and what I could do to draft them in where the crush is. And that worked good, because we were able to, one by one, get them in there. It was a little bit of a thrash. One of them's in heat, so they're a little wild. Anyway, I figured the only place we could do was contain them overnight, where we weren't worrying about fences. We were exhausted. It's now 5 o'clock in the morning. We hadn't been to sleep other than the hour we got between 11 and midnight. So we get them down there, and they're contained. Come up here, finish getting baby fed, get Nettle situated for the night. Meanwhile, we also have Tethys and Ganymede that we're fending off every time we go in and out of the gates. So I'm just up here checking on Nettle's not really thirsty. Baby's looking good. We haven't seen if she's drunk off of Nettle yet. So we're going to be prepared to milk Nettle and feed the baby. Allison may come up and work with the baby and Nettle to see if they'll suckle. She's really good at that. My bad back and my hip that's bugging me will not let me be in the positions that we need to be to do that. And last night was a thrash. Chasing 5 heifers who do not want to be caught, scattered all over. It was a nightmare, really. I don't know, between the snow and the cold and the frozen ground, I don't think we're getting the right conductivity in the electric fence system. And I can't seem, the many times I've tried it, look at that halo around the sun. Many times I've tried to boost the power by chopping off, and that was the other problem. I'd shut off so many of the fences last night to keep the calves contained in the calf yard, the heifers, that we all of a sudden were worried about putting them somewhere else where, I would just take me a half hour when I'm awake and it's not dark and freezing to hook up the fence. So that wasn't working. So containment system, great to have that to work it, to get them caught there. So yeah, now I have to figure out how to boost the fence, how to get the fence hot enough to keep the calves in, and just what's going on. I think it's the deep cold, the snowpack, the fact that it isn't making a circuit, the ground's frozen. It's just like if there's no moisture and the ground's locked up, then there isn't that conductivity, I don't think. So going forward, we're going to have to plan a better, more robust system, maybe where the ground rods are below the frost line. Make sure that they're connecting at all times to ground, because I just don't know what else we can do and how we're going to keep these calves in today. But that's for later. It's getting late in the morning. We haven't milked anyone. We slept a couple hours, and yeah, first calf of 26 on the ground. Oh yeah, and that first calf, I was expecting according to the records, that should have been an Angus calf, but that is a really, really sweet little Jersey heifer calf. And it should be double polled, so it should have no horns. We'll see if that's the right calf. But yeah, and that's our second calf out of Nettle, who is a very good girl. She was a very good mama last night, which is great. Love it when, we didn't have to worry about that calf now. She can just be in there with Nettle. Nettle's not hurting her. Nettle's not pressuring her. Nettle's letting her be herself. So happy to let that. If the calf will suckle, we won't milk Nettle. We'll just leave the calf in there for a few days until we get some other stuff situated, because we knew that the calf is a couple days early. We knew the 7th was the birth date, and we were preparing for that, but we have not gotten used to this damn weather. We are socked in at this weekend. Today's Friday, so tomorrow and Sunday are going to be brutal with the wind chill again. We haven't had these temperatures in a while, several years, and this much snow in several years. So this is lingering on a little bit more than I really would like. Next week, it looks like we may have some days above freezing. That would be very welcome. It's only going to be 23 today, and I think today's probably the warmest day of the next few, because only for the fact that there isn't any wind. 20. It's so weird how it can feel balmy out, because it's just not that brutal deep cold. All right, I got to get everybody fed and watered and get on with milking, and you'll wake up. So Allison and I are working on the fence, the electric fence where the calves are. The problem is it's cold, the ground's frozen. The circuit loop of electric zap from the hot fence wires going through the ground is not being made, and the calves aren't getting a shock, and they're just walking through the fence, so they don't care. So we've separated the ground wire and separated all the fence units. Were joined together, 5 strands, all 5 of them getting one positive charge. So now I've separated it so we have an alternate, a positive charge wire and a ground charge wire. So they make contact with both those wires, they will get a zap. Doesn't need to go through the ground. And that should solve the issue. It's a temporary measure, and it's our last chance. So that's what we're doing. And it was an easy fix. It didn't take that long, and we're almost ready to go. Moving calves. All right, it's Saturday evening, 9 o'clock. I just finished feeding and bedding the cows. I had to go up and feed the baby. The reason we're feeding her is that Nettle has edema, something fierce. We've left the calf in with Nettle. Oh right, I gotta bring this hose in, dang it. We left the calf in with Nettle, hoping that it would drink. But it's clear she may have gotten a little bit, but not a lot, because Nettle's in a severe amount of pain, and it looks like maybe the calf stepped on one of her teats when she was laying down, because it's all scraped up. Anyway, she was not happy in the milking parlor this morning, and so we saved some of her milk back. I'm going to feed the baby tonight. We'll probably pull Nettle out of there tomorrow, put her back in with the cows. that space is really too small for both of them to be in there for any length of time. Today was another clusterfuck day. Heifers were out numerous times. They stayed in well overnight. They got out, Mimsy and Demeter got out twice today, and Mimsy got out a third time. We had already overslept because we're exhausted from the previous 24-hour cycle, and so we were getting a late start. We got out about what was it, 9 o'clock to go milk, and we found Mimsy and Demeter out, so we put them in and proceeded to start milking. I found they were out again. We had to stop milking, and we got them put back. I actually went to the feed store and got some materials to raise the height of the fence another 8 inches to try and get them to stop, but Mimsy just walked right through that. So we finally were getting the calf fed. I saw Mimsy was out, managed to get her back in. Meanwhile, our neighbor Lake was great coming over and helping each time. That was, thank God he was within earshot, because he showed up and he heard me yelling at the cows, Heifers. And I stripped back almost all the fencing that was connected. It's down to the bare minimum, only what's surrounding the calves. I did manage to gain a kilojoule and a half and make it a little more zippy. And we had Mimsy, that was a fourth time today she walked through one of the fences, hopped right over it. Even at 4 foot high, she's just, I don't know what, and they've destroyed the orchard. They've stripped the bark off all the trees, all the little trees in the new orchard. They're just dead. It's devastating. I'm really, really pissed. They did that overnight when they were out one time. I didn't realize until today that the damn orchard's just dead. There's something they're lacking in their diet. I've given them a mineral block. I've given them a better quality bale. I don't know what it is. They're out for something in the last couple days. It doesn't help that they're in heat, several of them. And it doesn't help that this is just a brutal winter with another. Now the wind's kicked up. It's a sub-zero kind of day. Just annoying. We don't get it like this for this long at these temperatures. It's been a rarity in the 10 years we've been on this farm, in this location. So anyway, so I went in for breakfast at 4:30 this afternoon, literally, because that was the only time that we were chasing down doing something to finish milking. Allison's in there making cheese. She didn't make cheese yesterday because we'd had no sleep. And there was still all the other stuff to take care of. And so she pushed it off to today, and she's going to start making cheese today till 4:30 because of the Heifers. I have not checked. Mimsy's locked in the horse trailer overnight, and I'm going to check on the other Heifers now as soon as I pull this hose in so it doesn't freeze. And I got to feed the baby. I am calling it a night. I do still have to come back and push up the silage of the cows and check them overnight, and the calf before I go to bed. But it's been a grueling 48 hours, and I'm not keen on repeating it. We're really scratching our heads and working hard to think of how this can't happen again. The ground is frozen. The fence isn't making the loop to charge it. We've restructured it I'll explain another time, to get it so that when they come in contact with the fence, it's going to zap them. And they just realize that the snow's high enough that they can walk over. I mean, that's the other thing. There's a foot of snow packed on the ground that they're walking in, so the fence is a foot lower. And we've never kept yearlings over winter like this. Last year, the calves were little. So having yearlings at this time of year is a new challenge, and we weren't quite there. We're still chasing our tails from 2020 and the slow sales. So some of the things that were supposed to get done have not been done yet. So that's we've got to make a plan and get some better infrastructure in place. yeah, at this point, I could have had a lot of that going, but I made the choice to try and get the heating system going when our electricity bill is enormous each month now because it's not going. And would that time have been better spent on other stuff? Is that heating system, my boiler system, my folly? Anyway, I need to get going before this hose freezes and me with it.